My friend just got married, but I did not attend because my crazy ex-stalker boyfriend was going to attend. But I didn't send in an official RSVP. I received the online save the date and of course replied yes. Then I was scrolling through the guest book and saw my ex's name. When I saw his enthusiastic reply of yes, my heart figuratively stopped. I felt cold inside, and I started hyperventilating. To understand why, this man abused me for months, isolated me from my friends and family, used me for money and intimacy, and then cheated on me. He made me feel crazy for confronting him about his drug use, about the girls hanging around him. I eventually stopped asking him because I wanted to keep him happy. When he moved away for a few months and we were long distance, he had friends that would report back to him if I went out with friends, confront me on our Skype chats about me being out with guy friends, unchaperoned, and would forbid me to go out without a chaperone. I eventually caved and didn't go out with any of my friends unless they were girls he knew or I just stayed home. I lost contact with many friends and my family. But then we were engaged and something broke in me when I realized I would have to give up everything to be with him, and I envisioned myself either dead or wanting to be dead when I saw our future together. When I finally broke it off for good with him, he had previously installed a keylogger into my phone and computer. Is that the official term? He was able to see everything I sent and did. He threatened suicide if I didn't talk to him, so I said go right ahead and notified his mom that he was making threats against his life. I told her that if he contacted me again, I was going to the cops. She said she would take care of it. But then a few nights later, I went to a late night movie by myself and got a call saying he was right outside my apartment. He saw my light on and just wanted to talk. I was not there at the time. He had a history of stalking and previous allegations of abusing his ex-girlfriends. The next day, I started the proceedings to get a restraining order out on him. A fun fact, they are really hard to get, and the order of protection was granted for 1 year, and I have moved on. I got a new laptop, phone, and changed my address. He was blocked on Facebook, and I deleted all of our mutual Facebook friends so they couldn't report back to him on me. Over to now, seeing him RSVP to a mutual friend's wedding threw me off kilter. My current boyfriend was unable to attend with me because of work, so I didn't want to go alone. I meant to email the groom and explain how I didn't want my drama to overshadow his wedding, and that he may not have been aware of the crazy ex-drama that happened a couple of years ago, but I saved it as a draft and never dealt with it. I pushed it back to my mind and was focusing on work and school. I got the email reminding me about the wedding. I didn't know what to do, and I just did not show up. I sent the newly married couple an Amazon package from their wedding registry with my apologies and offers to take them out to dinner after their honeymoon, but I don't know how to ask him now. So my question is this: how do I bring this up to the groom? How do I explain my I didn't reply and why I didn't show up? Do I go into detail about the horrible things my ex did? Do I show them a copy of the restraining order? Do I just continue to ignore and later message the groom to just take them out for dinner? Well, I personally think it's fair to say that Opie has a very justified reason not to go to their friend's wedding. Well, not to have gone. And surely any friend who is a friend absolutely supports someone like OP's decision not to go to a wedding because of this. And the comments reflect this as well. OP has reasonable concerns. And realistically, they wouldn't be the only people to not actually respond to an RSVP or to say yes but actually never show up. But we still got to consider the depth of the friendship OP has with the groom here. Let's assume they're best buddies. In which case, yeah, it seems like that OP probably screwed the pooch with this one. I'd argue that it is fair, as this comment is saying that maybe you definitely actually should explain yourself to the utmost degree. Show all the evidence, because for all your friend now knows, you just absolutely flaked on them, costing them a fair bit of money. It's a wedding after all. It's expensive. But here's the thing that puts a bit of a fork in that road. The OP explained in another comment that it turns out this groom friend of hers, well, actually her abusive ex was friends with him before OP was. They were church buddies when they were young, but my ex moved away when he was a teenager, and I met the groom in college. His sister and I were in choir together in high school. My hometown is small, and we bonded over a love of rock music. So time-wise, ex knew him longer, but I think I know him better as an adult. Well, okay, in that case, surely the groom should know about the history you've had with this ex. Well, the OP confirms that, oh, the groom didn't know about the abuse. I just told him it was an ugly breakup, and he said he was sorry the ex and I were no longer together because we had made such a good couple. I was such a good influence on him, etc. See, my ex is very good at manipulating people. The man has a high school degree, but is a wizard at technology things. He was a part of the anonymous group that hacked into things, and was very schmoozy when in groups. He had that way of talking to people that made him very popular. He's a horrible person, but his dad abused his mom growing up, so I guess it was a part of him. It made it normal to him to abuse me and all his other past girlfriends. Well, okay, with that in mind, this prior evidence that the groom would be aware of, this guy is not a good person and OP has justification then to have not turned up for the wedding. You think it's all open and shut case, right? Well, when we come to the update. So I took the advice of some to call my friend rather than an impersonal email or Facebook message and left a nice voicemail offering to take him and his wife to dinner and apologize for missing their wedding. He called back and squeezed me in their packed schedule before they leave for their honeymoon. I saw them last night for dinner. I gave them hugs and apologized again for missing their wedding. The groom said he vaguely remembered the bad breakup and the restraining order, but said he thought enough time had passed because the order of protection had expired. He also said they sent out the invites and saved the dates in waves, and the ex and I were on different waves. He said he thought we could put aside our issues for one day for his special day. He said he had invited family members that didn't get along with one another with the expectations that everyone could put aside their issues for his wedding. I told him I didn't want to see the ex ever again, especially being alone at the wedding, and I wasn't comfortable at all attending. My friend acknowledged this, and then we had a good dinner and caught up since our college days. They confirmed they had received many gifts the day after their wedding. Then they said the ex had RSVP'd and volunteered to be the sound guy. MC and sound system did not show up. My friend had to man the sound system on his own wedding day. The groom and bride said they would have rather me show up than the ex. So we have plans for me to see their house when they return from their honeymoon and hang out more frequently. They have an incredible collection of board games. It was a great dinner. OOP. I can't tell if they're just feigning the positivity or trying to desperately brush past the absolute a-hole behavior this friend has exhibited. He thought you could put aside your issues for one day for his special day. Bro, this isn't just like family squabble. She literally escaped an abusive situation. Oh, you poor sheltered man. Just the obliviousness. My goodness. So yeah, despite OP thinking this is a good, happy update, many in the comments are just bored by this friendship. Anyone who remembers a restraining order and thinks it's just water under the bridge, or who doesn't give you a heads up that that kind of person has been invited to their wedding, is not a friend. Yep, OP, you have horrible friends. This is not a happy ending. What the frick? Seriously, these are not your friends and they are not good people. You'd be better off putting your time and energy into other relationships. Like, I'm sorry, where's this logic that because a restraining order expires, it's suddenly no longer an issue? That's not how it works.
Hey, best friend, I know I trashed your house last year at your Christmas party. Well, I paid back all the damages I did, but I'm still a drunk. But, I paid back the damages, so I could be invited to next year's Christmas party, surely.
Now fret not, though. Turns out the OP kept lurking in the comments and responded to all this valid constructive criticism. Edit, I want to thank everyone for their comments and their messages. Truly, it took reading the comments and advice from internet strangers to realize what terrible friends I had. This was my throwaway account, so I was reading all of the comments on my regular account and being unable to reply. Replying on mobile would have been difficult. Again, thank you all. I plan on being very low contact to no contact with the groom and his wife. I do deserve better friends than that, and it took the comments and kindness of internet strangers to reveal this to me. Thank you all, and here's hoping karma gets the groom and my ex. Yeah, at this point, I'm going to argue that this groom's absolutely an enabler of their friend's abuse. God, to think a restraining order expiring is now water under the bridge. Over now to a story of someone who makes me want to have kids just so I don't have any relation to what they're into.
Rita, cousin-in-law, thinks everything has to be about her. Not even someone else's special day can be about them.
Oh, OP, why did you delete this post within 24 hours?
My cousin-in-law got pregnant right after her sister-in-law announced her pregnancy. She couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Not only that, but she got induced the day after my wedding weekend to have a baby. So my whole wedding weekend was about her. Literally, the day after my wedding, my husband and I were no longer important. God forbid we be important for more than one day, or should I say, more than 6 hours. Our wedding was 6 hours. To preface, my cousin-in-law didn't even need to induce. She had no complications, no high-risk pregnancy. She just had to give birth the day after my wedding. Guess what? She's pregnant again. Oh, and they weren't trying, because being off birth control and not using protection isn't trying. Get a grip. Father-in-law and mother-in-law told us she was pregnant again. Husband just said, well, that's crazy. Children are expensive. And that's when it got quiet. The phone call was dead silent for 2 minutes, like they were expecting us to care and talk more. No, we don't care. And frankly, it's none of our business to know. Cousin-in-law always calls the whole family right after the pregnancy is positive. She announced that she was pregnant again after she found out I went back to grad school. Perfect timing for her. Now, before we judge, there is some extra info to consider that the OP didn't really put in the post, but in the comments. What makes this so frustrating for them is because we had a big wedding party the next day for us. That was ultimately cancelled because of her, because family left to visit her in the hospital. And note, the wedding party the day after the wedding was scheduled a year before. So essentially, this woman's water breaking caused many people in the family not to attend the wedding party the next day, so they were just canceling it. Understandably very frustrating. Sounds like a lot of money thrown down the drain. They also add on that apparently with their whole family, or at least on that side of the family, weddings are still talked about and celebrated a week later. So yeah, my husband's family usually cares even after a day. Didn't know why you needed so many more details. I don't know, OP. Maybe it's because, as this comment says, you know it's bad when even the child-free people aren't automatically on your side. Like that says a lot. Yeah, there is a lot of people in this subreddit. I'm honestly very surprised. Usually you'd have these comments full of people just absolutely disgusted by these crotch goblins. Gross. But no, we've got, you're child-free, yet acting very much like an actual child. So this gets people trying to theorize and understand this whole situation. Like, what is these magical pregnancy planning powers the cousin-in-law allegedly has? Being able to get pregnant immediately after their sister-in-law, and B, have to get induced the day after her cousin's wedding. It's not like you just book in a spot and are magically able to do it the moment they require you. This gets some to think that OP is either lying or just doesn't know about this stuff. Could be the cousin-in-law was 2 weeks late and pushed it to be able to go to the wedding and then induced because she was so late. But no. That would make the cousin-in-law seem considerate and respectful about OP's desire to be the center of attention for their wedding. No! That said, I'm extremely uneducated about the science of pregnancy and all the stuff that goes on with it. So feel free to let me know. Do you think the OP here actually has some leverage with what they're frustrated about here? Was the cousin-in-law capable of actually manipulating the situation and planning ahead to get pregnant and give birth this exact moment and day that they were hoping to? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now over to the aunt of the year. Told my sister if she sets 1 foot inside my nephew's wedding, I'll drag her out of it myself. Now my family thinks I'm the a-hole. Long time lurker. Never thought I would make a post, but I'm angry and not thinking clearly. I also apologize in advance. I'm a brute and don't mince words. I'm 47 female. My nephew Joey, 21, is getting married in 2 weeks, and his mother Judy, 45, is trying to come, but I've adamantly told her not to because of how much stuff she's put him in through the recent years. Well, when Joey was 18, he was in a car crash with his father. His father died a few days later, and Joey was also hurt, but obviously survived. I know all of this was triggered by my sister's grief, and I am trying to be mindful of that. Now first, she purposely missed his high school graduation because she couldn't imagine being there without his father. Joey was understanding, and thankfully me and his girlfriend, now fiance's family, were there for him. Judy insisted on still hosting a graduation party a week or so later. I wasn't able to get there until towards the end. When I got there, most of the guests had left, and Judy was a drunken mess and was wailing about her husband's death. I told Joey to pack a bag and to come to my house for the weekend, which he did. Judy swore she would do better and begged him to come back home, which again, he did. So a couple of months went by and Joey asked if I could drive him to work because his car had been totaled. He looked terrible when I got him, so I asked him what was up. He said he had been working 70 hours a week because Judy had gotten laid off. I asked him how his car got totaled, and he said Judy had crashed it driving intoxicated. At that point, our mom and I sat down with her to try to get her into some sort of treatment or counseling, and she agreed. We later learned she never went. I take partial responsibility for not following up. Now, some months later, Joey called me again, this time for a ride to the courthouse to get Judy out of jail. All he said was she had gotten drunk and got herself arrested. But when I picked him up, he had fresh cuts on his arm and jawline. Turns out she assaulted him when he refused to get her more to drink. I begged him to come stay with me, but Judy insisted that she would get help if he would stay and help her, which he did. I would call and talk to Joey once or twice a week to make sure he and Judy were safe. She didn't go into treatment, but he said things had calmed down. After a few months, he stopped responding to calls and only sent short text responses. Sometime later, those stopped too. Throughout all of this, he has been supported by his fiancée. I started getting my updates on Joey's well-being through her occasional social media posts. They got engaged,
and her family is paying for the small, intimate wedding and reception they've chosen to have. As far as I knew, things were better. He seemed happy in her posts. But I was blindsided about 2 weeks ago when Joey's fiancée called me. She said Joey needed my help and asked if she could drive him over to my house. When they got there, he was shaking, hyperventilating, and threw up multiple times. When he finally calmed down, he said his mother had gone into a drunken rage some weeks ago and started trying to rip and burn everything left of her husband's. When Joey stopped her, she started wrecking his stuff. All the while, she was screaming that she wanted her husband back and wished Joey had died instead, blaming him for the crash. The whole 9 yards. Joey said this has been going on for months, and the night prior to his girlfriend bringing him to me, he came home and found that she had burned all of his father's pictures, old clothes, everything. I went to confront Judy. She agreed once again to enter treatment, and this time she followed through. Joey has been staying with me since. Every time I ask about the wedding or his girlfriend goes over plans with him, he turns pale and miserable. I asked him what was up with that. He wouldn't really answer, but I asked if it was because of his mom. I asked if he wanted her off the guest list. He didn't have it in him to flat out say yes, but the look on his face said it all. Judy called him earlier today, gushing about how excited she is for the wedding and that she's picked out her dress and wants a mother-groom dance. Joey told her not to come. She went all weepy and started begging. At that point, I asked him to give me the phone, and I flat out told her that if she sets foot in that wedding, I will personally drag her out of it. This has caused a stir in our family. Our other siblings think I have influenced Joey and I should convince him to let her come if she promises to behave. I told them all that since they've helped him very little and don't know his side of things, they can kiss my butt. Am I the a-hole? I will never not love an older, mature woman putting their foot down like this.
You could all kiss my ass.
Hell yeah! So it's pretty much agreed that, like, anyone can see reading this story, the minute she hits the bar, she will unravel, unless of course she arrives preloaded, which is even more likely. Judy needs to sit this out and take a hard look at herself. Like, hey Judy, welcome to the consequences of your actions. Yes, you lost your husband, but you're throwing away your son. So the first update comes the next day. At the moment, Joey seems to be a bit ill, insists there's a stomach bug going around, but he has been nauseous all day at work but won't leave. He refuses to block Judy, and she has been calling him every few hours. He's not answering, but he's worried blocking her will put her over the edge. I'm trying to work with her to get his things from her house, but she won't speak to me. She will only speak to Joey, who won't speak to her. So I'm letting her cool off for a few days. Goodness knows I need to before I rip her a new one. Thankfully, his essentials are here at my house, so there isn't anything he needs. As far as I know, this is his last week working before he gets some time off before the wedding. They'll be moving his fiancée into the apartment they're leasing next week, and he'll join her after the wedding. She's religious. He says he's feeling excited to get to those things. Well, with a few days of cooling off, we come back with this update. The OP sharing a screenshot. Checking in, are you sober?
Yes, goddamn.
I'm just asking, so can I come get his stuff, please? One less thing on your plate.
No, he can call or text me and he can arrange to come get his stuff. Until then, you are not permitted to.
For God's sake, he has been paying to keep a roof over your head for how long? And this is how you act? Why can't you set everything out for me to pick up for him? Then you don't have to see either of us. I know you're going through a hard time too, but you're making it harder for no reason.
A hard time? My son won't let me come to his one and only wedding, and you're backing him up, so I'm having a very hard time, thanks.
Okay, you're having a very hard time. I can't even imagine. He is also going through a hard time. He's been throwing up sick at work for 2 days to pay your bills after you told him he would be better off dead to you as his mother. You're going to leave me no choice but to come with the freaking police to get his stuff.
I don't give a frick. I want to talk to my son.
Well, he doesn't want to talk to you. I'll be around with some officers this weekend. Let me know if you change your mind. For once, I wish you would think of your son.
Tell him to think of and call his mother.
I'm not doing that. If you want to talk to him, then get your life together. Now, in the original post, many people are arguing that there's no way they can let this wedding go ahead, mainly because there's just too much drama being involved right now. And at first, you'd argue, well, no, shouldn't have to stop all this because mother's being a lunatic. But after seeing this text conversation, many people are back to that same idea. Sounds like Joey's way too broken and needs a lot of therapy before he even has the right mind space to actually have a wedding in its whole entirety. And unfortunately, it seems Auntie's actually feeling the same too. Apparently, Joey is convinced he can pull himself together for it. Turns out that the fiance's parents are willing to forfeit their deposits on everything if need be. So, damn, there is a lot of great support networks going on with this family right now. Joey is a lucky son of a gun. With some extra added info too that the father-in-law is actually connecting Joey with some great therapists, as father-in-law and mother-in-law are absolute saints. So on to another update 6 days from the original post, one of many more to come. First, Joe spent 2 days stomach sick but kept working so he could pay for his mom's mortgage one more time. So that was lovely for him. Judy and I went back and forth about trying to get his things back. I was planning on going with Joey to get his things with the police yesterday. The police said Joey had to be there since it's his property. However, Judy insisted that she had taken everything to a dumpster and not to bother. I asked Joey what he wanted to do in case she was lying, and he said not to go, since there wasn't anything very valuable or that he couldn't live without. Then she had the nerve to text him last night asking one more time to reconsider allowing her to come to his wedding. When he didn't respond, she said he was not just being hateful to her, but also to his late father. Because as she put it, having me there is like having him there in spirit. Joey said no and finally put his foot down, telling her that her bills were paid for the month and that he's blocking her. I sent her a hell of a message myself that I don't regret and haven't heard from her at all today. Now, I will not be blocking her. Despite how some readers might feel, I do care about her and want to check in to make sure she is safe. Joey's been moving his fiancée into their apartment today. I've checked in a couple of times and he says it's going well. Send me a picture of them smiling with moving boxes as proof. And for anyone wondering, I have asked a friend, who is a retired officer, to come to the wedding to watch for her. Granted, she doesn't have a car right now. The venue is also aware. I feel okay about that, but honestly, I feel like I am going to have a hard time watching the ceremony and not being out there myself keeping watch, but I am going to try my damn hardest. Judy knows not to cross me like that, so I know seeing me at the door will turn her away, but hopefully that won't even be necessary. So you might be wondering, why with all this drama happening, is there still people in Opie's family who don't see how insane this mother is? Well, Opie explains, to them, anything that's not in front of their goddamn faces doesn't exist. They live in their own worlds. Now, it's later on we find out that the OP got permission from Joey to actually share the text messages he sent as a goodbye to his mother, seeing that beautiful heartfelt message of manipulation from Mother Dearest, along with OP showing us what she sent herself. God damn, this is scathing. If there are any photos left that you didn't burn of you all as a family when Jay was young, please take some time to look at them. Then imagine someone hurting that sweet little boy you both loved, because that's exactly what you've been doing all these years. His father would be crushed. Absolutely crushed. I know I am. I know Jay is. Get help. Then get on your freaking knees and pray that someday your son might forgive you and you can ever learn to love him again. You can call or text me if you need help and to let me know you're safe. Otherwise, just get some help and stay out of Jay's new life. And so now we come to the update with the wedding in tow. Well, the day started with me receiving multiple calls and texts from Judy, ranging from apologies to calling me every name in the book for keeping her away from her son on his big day. I reminded her to stay away and that if she didn't, she would be ushered out. By me if it came down to it. I told other relatives that if they dared to bring her, they would be kicked out and they'd probably never hear from Joey again. All that said, Joey and his wife did the damn thing. They had an amazing, small, intimate wedding. I haven't cried since my dad died decades ago, and today I was a weepy mess, but in the best way. I cried throughout the ceremony. I cried when I saw the reception with tables for board games? That's so damn creative, at least I think so. Joey and wifey, despite the odds against them, had a great day. Joey was truly happy for the first time in far too long. So, am I the a-hole for being a crybaby at my nephew's wedding? So yes, ultimately, a happy ending to things. One of those rare moments in these huge Reddit collages of updates where there actually is a genuinely happy ending. Except for the mother. Technically, that happy ending is a ball that is in her court now. Now for a wedding story where the more you read, the more of a mess it becomes. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my bridesmaid and best friend from my wedding, with everyone believing that everyone sucks here because of how young they are for all of this? It's not too surprising that the OP deleted the post and fled. I, 18 female, uninvited my best friend Kara from my wedding. I had 5 bridesmaids, my sisters Lila and Caitlin, my sister-in-law Bonnie, and my best friends Kara and Caroline. 19, 13, 19, 18, and 17, in that order. This happened in May of 2023. I keep thinking about it, and maybe I am. They all helped plan something they thought I'd like for my bachelorette party. Kara and Caroline, who were 18 and 17, took on more of the financials as they had jobs to do so. I asked if I could help with money, and they said no. I was so excited and wanted to do something in return, so I made a thank you baskets and wrote a letter for each girl. The original place they picked had fallen through, so 2 days before the trip, it was changed. This trip was planned to be 3 days long at an Airbnb at the beach.
This beach, known for being dangerous and a big party scene. Kara told my mom about the change, and my mom didn't think that it was such a great idea, keeping my little sister in mind, as I was to be responsible for her, the 13-year-old. Mum said she would pay Kara back and she could set us up on a different beach that was safer. Kara didn't like this and said she spent her money on it and wanted it to be there. There was a massive fight, mostly about me not feeling safe going there and them bringing alcohol, with Kara being the most out of pocket. Even my mom was dragged into it. They said that they were all upset because I pooped on everything they planned and never said thank you before we even went on the trip. In a separate group chat, they talked about going and uninviting my little sister because she ruined the fun. Now, when I said this was unfair to her and she would be there as she is a part of the bridal party, they then talked about going and uninviting us both. After 2 days of fighting and multiple panic attacks, I gave in and went with the stipulation of no alcohol, my dad would stay nearby, and they were all to apologize to my mom and sister. Well, during the trip, there was no plan. They did decorate, which was nice, but we were all just rolling with the punches. Kara made a lot of it about her. Basically what Kara said went. I thought Kara was my best friend, but I saw a different side of her. She never apologized. She really didn't even talk to me the whole trip. A few days before the wedding, I texted to ask if her sister was finished making something for the wedding. She asked if we were okay, and I told her we weren't, and I was still hurt. We got into another big argument. She was mad I was okay with everything else, but they apologized. She absolutely refused to apologize to me, my mom, or sister. That's all I wanted, and I would be okay. But then she said that I was using her, so her sister would make something for me. After more arguing, I told her she shouldn't show up for the rehearsal dinner or the wedding. I do feel bad, but she put time and money into this, and it was terrible of me to be mad at her and still want something from her sister. Now, edit. People are missing the point of this post. I'm not asking if I'm too young to be married. But anyway, am I the a-hole for uninviting my best friend to my wedding?
Yes, you are too young to be married. Literally everything happening in this story is happening because you are all too young to be doing this sort of thing. None of you are 20. None of you have worked in the adult sector of the world for more than 2 years. I guarantee none of you actually have a full-time job. You're at least going to be in college or something. It's just like, on one hand, you do want to argue that this is her wedding day or her bachelorette's party of sorts. It's pretty ridiculous that the two friends would try to argue how it gets done because they paid for it like it was a gift. You don't get to make it all about yourselves when you are gifting it to someone. But at the same time, the only reason they were doing it is because they're the only ones who actually had money to afford to do it. Like, what do you expect? The two late teens were probably broke as hell. It's kind of unsurprising that they'd be rather bitter about all this. Like, it's not so much that they are great at planning things, but they've just been thrown into that part of responsibility because they have the money to do so. But like, it's worse than that. It's not just they have the money to do so, it's that they're the only ones with money to do so. Oh, but you want to know what's worse? And maybe why it's not too surprising why they're all marrying so young. So responding to someone pointing out that they are all too young for this, another agreeing with this that like it's really hard to expect any serious level of maturity from any of them, let alone self-awareness about this whole situation. The OB, now deleted, responded, well, I think that's the worst part. They kept saying they were so grown and didn't need people following them around. Sister-in-law and older sister already have kids too. They wanted to be on their own, like a vacation. But I wanted to make sure my little sister felt safe too. Wait, the 19-year-olds have children already? Plural? Yes, my sister has 2 kids, 1.5-year-old as well as a 5-month-old, and my brother and sister-in-law have a 2.5-year-old. May I offer some unsolicited advice and discourage you from doing the same? Oh, for sure. My husband and I want to have a good leg to stand on before thinking about children. Yeah. So, birth control just isn't a practice with this family dynamic, I don't think. I mean, look, if child rearing is your calling, you're so confident it's your calling before you've even reached 20, you go for it, okay? I hate to discourage parenting as a lifestyle because many people just kind of don't at all actually research into preparing for it. But there are some people out there who are like, yeah, this is my calling. I feel really in place raising children and raising a family. Good for you. You do that. There's a great saying that if you find parenting stressful and exhausting, you're a good parent. But it's a struggle to believe that this is OP or even their family members' calling, like to have that decision made in your mind before you're even in your mid-20s, before your brain has finished, on average, developing. I don't know, am I just shooting the poop, as they say? I don't know if I have much of a leg to stand on here, so I leave that sort of open-ended question over to you. But for now, we'll end things there. Thank you as always for watching. Love your face. Remember to guzzle down water as it's nutritional, and if you don't, I will slurp my finger and stick it in your ear. Bye!